artists. Well, here I am in my home studio during these crazy times when there's no school. I like to get creative, and I thought it might be fun for you to see what I have been doing. I always see your artwork, and I post it on our Facebook page, and I thought it would be fun for you to see what I've been doing. So here's a little bit of what I have been doing. So here's a little bit of what I did today. I like to do warm-up paintings. Today I decided to paint toilet paper as my inspiration. Oh, where is the toilet paper? So I just do these warm-up drawings or paintings, and I focus on a color scheme, lights and darks, contrast, light color against dark color, light color against dark color, contrast, and it's just kind of a fun way to warm up. The other day I was doing flowers, and this is negative space painting. So what I do is I would take either an existing painting that didn't work out so good, and I would paint the negative space around it. I would see the image and I would paint around it. So I paint the background and then I come in and fill in with some flowers, but they're very abstract. So I'm going to show you guys a really fun way to do some negative space drawing and painting. All right, so here's what you guys can do with just a few things that you have around your house. Markers, most of us have markers. Crayons, I have these kinds of crayons, but they're crayons. Or watercolor paints. Most of you guys might have those things, but most of us have markers and crayons and paper. You can do a negative space drawing just like I did. So here's a great way to do it. Go on a textured treasure hunt. All of you guys know about texture? Go through your house, find textures. Do crayon rubbings. Get your little naked crayons out. Do some crayon rubbings. Here's what I suggest. Start with warm colors or just cool colors and do your textures. So here I did a crayon rubbing with warm colors and I filled my paper. So even then when I came back in and I did my negative space drawing of my heart with my cool colors, you can see some of those warm colors popping through. Also think about that contrast as you're doing it. Push those darks dark. Have one side a little bit lighter as you're doing your negative space. So it gives it more contrast, it gives it more interest. Push those darks. That's going to make this lighter edge look lighter. The darker edge, the lighter edge. Even though these values are the same, this one looks lighter because this dark is darker. So that's one thing. Just pick a fun shape that you are able to figure out how to create negative space from. A heart is great. A flower works too. So another thing you can do is then, most of you know this, that our markers, if they're water-based markers, they will bleed if you add water to them. So this one I just colored in, and again I was thinking about my marks, the direction of my marks that I was going. This isn't just scribbling. Thinking about the colors, this is all cool colors, and then drawing with my marks purposefully, not just scribbling, but kind of creating a design, again, staying in balance. So I got my darkers here on the edge and kind of in the middle as a focal point, and then the lighter value colors filling in. Then I just took a paintbrush with clean water and washed it across there to bleed those colors together. So now this paper's dry. So now you can come back and you could do a couple things with this one. You could use markers again and put some light colored markers on top. I'm not sure how well that would work since these are dark colors. Light colors probably won't cover over them. But watercolor paint, I could definitely do watercolor paint on top of this. So I'm going to do watercolor paint on top of this, and I'm going to create a butterfly. So I'm just, again, doing those negative shapes and coming in here to make my one butterfly wing, and then the other one, and just kind of filling in that negative space and using just big strokes. And remember, watercolor paint's transparent, so we want to see that color behind there, but we'll see how well this works. It would be better with tempera paint because, as you guys know, tempera paint is opaque, so it's going to cover over what's underneath a lot better. But this is kind of fun. We're at home, we're experimenting, we don't have the same kind of tools that we have at school. We're just having fun. The idea is just to be creative, and this is kind of fun. It kind of looks like a tie-dye butterfly in here. So we'll see how this turns out. Okay, so there's my butterfly, and once it dries I could come back in here with a black Sharpie and redefine, maybe give my butterfly some antennae and maybe even some patterns in his wings. can have all kinds of fun with this. But this is just one way that you guys can practice negative space drawing and painting. Here's something else you can do. If you just take, this might be more for advanced students, I'm going to take warm colors and kind of make like starbursts and go from a darker color, lighter value color, then another darker color, and just kind of continue this pattern. But notice how I'm using the side of the marker so I can get a fatter stroke. I'm laying it down on this edge as opposed to tipping it up like this. And I'm using the marker to create a shape that goes out from the middle. So again, I'm not scribbling, I'm purposeful with how I am laying in my marks. And again, I'm thinking about contrast. Darker value, lighter value, darker value, lighter value. And then with this, once it's all filled in, I'm actually going to spray this with a spray bottle of water and just let the colors bleed. So I'll finish that and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, now this paper is dry. I sprayed it with a water bottle. You can see how the ink just kind of bled. Now I'm going to take my cool colors. I'm just going to use markers. You could use crayon, whatever you want. And I'm going to do a negative space drawing of the flower pot. So you can see how these sort of look like flowers. So your job is now just to kind of map out where would that bouquet in a vase be, and maybe this shape down here would be the vase. So I like to do that with my finger first, kind of outline it so that I know, all right, this is basically going to be my vase, this will be the table, so that's the negative space that I want to color in. And then I'm going to leave all of these wonderful looking flowers. So here's how I might start that. I'll start down here with the vase. So my vase is just going to be rectangular, and then it's going to go in here. Maybe this is my first flower. So all of this is going to be my negative space. Now if I had paint that was opaque, I could paint right over this. But I am using the markers. So as I work, I just kind of come in here like this and leave that shape to look like some kind of a flower. And again, you're just kind of letting the drawing that you did tell you what it wants to be. And then as you work, make sure you're using that marker going in the same direction, artists, so that your lines are neat and you're not scribbling. And you can see how it's starting to take shape. So this is just kind of a fun, creative way to see a little bit differently. And as we've been working on drawing what you see in our classroom, now this is drawing what you see in your mind, or what you can create from something you created. Well, I'm going to finish this and show it to you. All right, so I finished coloring that one in. And again, it's just kind of a fun way to do something a little bit different, be a little bit creative. You guys can go outside, you could draw trees, whatever you see. And I actually finished doing the vase with crayons and then added some detail up here with a green marker just to kind of make it look like a flower vase. But again, it's abstract, kind of like your paint and print flowers that you did. And then the butterfly one finished with Sharpie marker, or just something fun with crayons again. Texture treasure hunting. And this is fun, and look at how beautiful it is with all this contrast and texture. So lots of ways, artists, for you to be creative during this time. All right, post your drawings on the comment section for me. I would love to see them. All right, happy drawing.